Hello, students. I want to let you know that the first time students do the assessment and especially the presentation, it is a challenge. And I have been teaching this on and off since 2013 when my former colleague and I began teaching the doctrine course. So that you know, we actually began teaching doctrine at the request of students, and more often we are seeing jobs and internships posted with doctrine in the job description or the preferred qualifications. Anyway, that said, since 2013, the first unit oftentimes will let students redo it, I'm a little more lenient about the deadline, that kind of thing. And I provide feedback even more than I do in the other units because there is a learning curve. Pachachka is different for most people, and by disciplining yourself to stay within its constraints, you will learn what to boil down to the most important information. And I would encourage you going forward, some of you are already in the field, I would try to keep my presentations, depending on the level of my audience, even shorter, especially if it's a decision maker. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but for now, I just want to give an overview to those of you who were caught flat-footed. Please know that you are in good company. So let's look at Unit 2. Click on the folder, and where you are going to want to start every unit is with the overview, the checklist, okay? Because what that provides is your big picture, as I often say. I like to start with the end in mind, borrowing that expression from Stephen Covey. It's a good idea because you know where you're headed and what's expected if you start by the big picture. So this will tell you the learning objectives for the course and for this particular unit to give you an idea of what you should come away with. The deadlines are set out for you, and I will go ahead and say right now, the first deadline is for Okay, so what you are witnessing is a switcheroo in real time. I have now posted an updated version of the overview document, and I now see where the final source of confusion lies, and that is in this overview document. Okay, so mystery solved. So you know, going forward, you will note that the deadlines will not be on the overview document. It will refer you to the course calendar. I've had colleagues tell me to keep the dates only on the calendar in an effort to make things convenient. I've still kept due dates in the documents, but it is not worth the confusion when deadlines change. As I've mentioned in some announcements, and to some of you directly, I realized that from a grading standpoint, making things due on a Thursday, except for your feedback to each other, which is due on Monday, just made more sense. So that is why the deadlines are changed. Now, this overview document for Unit 2, I'm going to go over in detail because it is similar in the remaining units. So I already told you about the objectives, your deadlines. Okay, so the FEMA course is due on a Thursday before your other assignments. Sometimes that will help in terms of your assessment and your presentation. Next, you will have due your assessment, which is usually a written document of some sort, and then your presentation in the Pachachka format. and think about this version of your presentation as a draft. Then you have until Monday, the following Monday, to give feedback to 2 of your classmates and check to make sure that someone else has not already provided feedback to someone that you're looking at, because we want to make sure and provide feedback to everyone. So you will provide 2 feedback rubrics to 2 of your classmates that have not already been provided with feedback. And then you have until that Thursday to make any changes that you would like to make based on the feedback you've received, or you might choose not to make changes at all, or only a few. I just suggest that you either on discussion board or with a quick email or something, acknowledge to the other person that you do appreciate their feedback. However, for this or that reason, you're not going to utilize it, just because that way it doesn't seem like you blew off the person who is helping. Please know, I want to emphasize that keep your tone professional, but the truth is, be hard on each other, because that will not harm either person's grade. The more feedback you give, the better your grade. And it will not penalize the student who you are giving the feedback to. It can only stand to help them. What I do is I often will go ahead and grade the draft version, just so you have a sense of whether or not you need to implement changes. But it is always a good idea for anything of significance to have at least one set of eyeballs, and preferably more than that, to look for errors, because no matter how many times you review it, you become used to the errors and you don't see them anymore. So what you're going to do for each unit when you start off, before you complete your assessment, like I said, you'll do the IS courses. Be sure and upload your reflection when you upload the certifications. If you want to use a chart format for your reflections, that is fine. You can upload the same document with each of your certificates as you add to that chart. That's perfectly fine. All right. Other than that, you want to start by looking at the questions in your assessment. I'd also take a look at what's expected in the presentation. And I do that. I'm a very slow reader, and that helps me focus on whatever is most important as I read through any of the materials. So then you complete your assessment. You go ahead and complete your presentation. And while I'm talking about that, I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly what you want to do. Like I said, or if I didn't say, some of you have, in fact, most of you have posted. So, but this, like I said, I really do expect people to have a challenge with the first time they do this. So here is what you need to do as far as the presentation. There is, in your helpful resources for this course, you will see that I have a folder on presentations generally, and the tips and so on. Read this first. This will tell you exactly what's in this folder, and I would proceed, I would go right down this checklist right here. The first thing you do is look at your format and style guide. This is how you will be graded. There's no mystery, so go ahead and review it so that you have that in mind. In fact, I would have that up on another screen, or I would print a hard copy myself. So that will give you a sense of what is expected there. And then also, there is a reference slide example for you. This is from a past student, and that is exactly what the reference slide looks like. You can use that as your guide. Then I would also go on, and this is exactly how I would proceed through the resources I have here. What you need to be very careful to do is utilize this folder. Sometimes faculty, sometimes I've been really lax in this area about the images that you use, but unless you draw it or take a picture of it, you need to give credit where it's due. You don't want to just go out there and search for an image on Google and utilize that. You need to, it's very simple nowadays. FEMA provides you with photos and video that you're allowed to use. You can search right here. You can search by the disaster or anything else, and then FEMA, just cite FEMA. In fact, I think it puts the citation into the PowerPoint for you. And then also Flickr is very well worth using. If you go to Creative Commons, what they have here is various photos with various requirements for citations. So there are some that are just for use to anyone in the public, and there are others. Okay, so we are in the folder that says Find Quality Images and Give Credit Where It Is Due. So what we have here, if you click on this link, it will take you to FEMA, and you can put in a search right in this bar and hit go, and FEMA will show you photos, videos, and audio files for whatever disaster or doctrine that you put in the search bar. Now, please know you need to read through when you find something to see if you need to ask permission or how you should attribute the credit. Another option is this one-click image attribution beta test. This is with Creative Commons, and it lets you go to different sources. And so let's say, for example, you put in Hurricane Sandy and then click on Flickr, which is a great resource for photos. Okay, so you will need to sign up most likely with a Yahoo account, and I'm sure they have other options. And so I'm signed in here. But what I really like about it is that you can select. You don't want to use this for commercial purposes. So uncheck that box, and that should help as far as what you have to do to give credit. And then Creative Commons for educators, this is established. It's not a beta test. It walks you through exactly what you need to do to find photos that you can utilize and what type of credit they need. Now, I want to give you this disclaimer. As a recovering attorney, I can't resist it. This particular source, State College of Florida, is really good. In fact, it's the best that I could find, I think, a couple of years ago, and it's all you need. This librarian goes through and talks about giving credit with images and so on. Please know, you can give credit in your PowerPoint for this class. And just a simple, as long as you are legally utilizing the images, that is great. But please know that in a course or a presentation that is official, legal is not always good enough. When you're doing an official PowerPoint or presentation under APA guidelines and academic integrity guidelines, you need to be certain that your photos and your images are all acceptable and do not get you in trouble for plagiarism. So please note that. For our purposes, as long as you are giving legal credit where it's due, it's perfectly fine for this class. Okay, so back to the drawing board. So what you are going to do then is you're going to know right ahead of time that you have to give credit for your images. Now, Pachachka, that is the format that we use, and the format was created by some architects because our architects, I guess, kind of like academicians, like to drone on and have lots of wordy PowerPoint slides. And so what they did is they created this format, 20 seconds per slide for 20 slides. So you end up with 6 minutes and 40 seconds for your presentation. So when you go into this folder, this is exactly what I would do. I mentioned already to be familiar with the format and style rubric, but let me tell you right now, when you click on this guy's really funny and has an accent and is very creative and walks you through pretty much everything you need to know about creating your own Pachachka presentation. Now, then you can go into more detail. If you want to go to the website, this has become a thing all over the world, actually. There are Pachachka meetings. Sometimes they'll do them at a pub or they'll do them at a university. And people, it's kind of like a poetry slam, but it's a presentation instead. So, also, here, this is very helpful. This person takes you step by step in creating your Pachachka. So the first video will give you all the key points, and then you can go through step by step. And look, it's only 6 minutes. So we're not talking about a whole lot of time. Now, something that is fantastic that I discovered in a course this summer that I took for online teaching. What this is a video, is a YouTube video that walks you through a process of creating your script. So, for example, we'll just have to skip this this ad to get there. Okay, so this is a 3-minute video, and it tells you how to save your PowerPoint slides into a Word document where you will have your slides on the left-hand side of the page and your words that you type into the notes on the right-hand side. So then when you go through and set the timing for your slides, you will have your script in your hands that you can read directly from so that things go smoothly. So, okay, where are we now? We're at about 15 minutes total for you to utilize these resources. And then there is a video that will give you step-by-step instructions. There is a video, and there is also this step-by-step, I think, actually. Not sure there is a video. So the next thing you see is the how to record a slideshow with narration and slide timings. And this is fantastic. I just printed it and went step by step through this document, and it was super simple. So again, we're not talking about a whole lot of time, and that is how you will make your Pachachka presentation for the class. Now, for Unit 2, know that, and some of you have already headed into the Unit 3 materials and assignments, but yes, your assessment for Unit 2 is different. It is not just short answer. What I have you do for this assignment is something that is part of laying your foundation for doctrine. You are going to utilize material on CEM, which is Comprehensive Emergency Management, and CVM, which is Comprehensive Vulnerability Management. And the materials are here in the Unit 2 folder. In fact, they're separated out. So the information on CEM and CVM, there are different formats you can use. You're going to use one of these. You're either going to use the PowerPoint or the Word document, and you are going to fill in a chart. So this is what you're going to use. Now, CEM, you've got information on that and how it originated and where it originated from. And then I've given you this McIntyre article that gives you disaster paradigms. And one of them is CVM. So you will read through that document, and as you'll see in the instructions for the assessment, if you start with the end of the document, McIntyre has taken a load off for you and has a chart there. Just do not cut and paste or use the exact same words. Please make sure that you are using your own words. Neil, you don't have to read Neil's document, but in looking at the heavy hitters and the theory that underlies our discipline, you might want to read that document or use it in the future. So know about that. And I provide your presentation materials in this assessment folder, and I do that in every unit, just in case you want to utilize something more. So back to the actual document that you'll do your work on. Let's just pull up the Word document. What you're going to do is read about CEM and CVM, and again, make it easy on yourself. Look at the McIntyre chart on the back of his article. But you're going to go through and you're just going to list, hey, where did it originate? You put the source. Where did this originate? This CVM thought and this paradigm, and you put the source here. And then you make notes about what you're going to recommend. So when you come down, the next step and the final step is you are going to make a recommendation on whether to move to a fully new paradigm, whether to combine the two, and go from there. I put this here just so you have some prompts, but what you want to do is write your recommendation as if you are submitting it to a supervisor or to a decision maker, because the chart is where you can make notes to yourself, so they don't have to be as formal. But you need to make your recommendation, and you will upload this document as your assessment. So it's really straightforward once you look at it. Now, please note that they're on the sixth element. This is an element you need to add. And the students that have already submitted this part of the assignment have done a really good job with that. What else do you think about those two different models? That's all paradigm is another word for model. And you'll hear it a lot, is why I use it here. You just figure out, hey, what's another important thing to consider as we look at these? And that's what your sixth element will be. Then you save this document and upload it to the assessment thread. Now, if you have questions after viewing this video, feel free to email them to me or text them to me. If you do send an email, please put student in all caps in the subject line, and if you can, send me a quick text that says your name and the class. You could just do, Joe Schmo 3063 C email, and then that directs me there. I get hundreds a day, and there's not a lot of junk, so it's very, very hard to locate student emails, which are really the only ones I'm interested in. So please make that easier for me to spot so that I can get to your work. All right, good luck. Send me questions.